What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Undefined Engineering. I'm your host, Christian. I'm here with my brother, Patrick, who's joining us once again from Colorado. We got a pretty cool episode lined up for you guys today. A lot of talking points to talk about in this one. Patrick, how's your day been going so far?
Good, busy day at work, learning the new job and all that stuff. So, pretty good overall.
How long you been there now?
This is my third week.
Third week. And how would you compare it to your previous role so far?
Different, but I like it.
Nice. Yeah, as y'all may know, after the last podcast, Patrick now works as a product engineer, right? For a Air Squared?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds like a cool gig. Sounds like you get to learn a lot on the design side, which is definitely going to be a big value add for your career moving forward. Sorry, we'll cut this out. This fell over on my desk.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been smooth sailing over here. College football is back. It's been a fun ride so far, being a UT fan.
Gross.
How was the game last weekend for you?
Good, because I was camping, not watching it.
You didn't see you didn't see Arch play? Mm-hmm. Man, it was a good game. He had a great game. Looks really good. All right, well, let's move forward. Big topic for this podcast. We are going to talk about a key thing that I'm sure many people will be curious about. How to get promoted as an engineer. How can you do it as quickly as possible while ensuring that you're working on that necessary skill set that'll set you up for success moving into your career? Patrick, is this something that you've thought about yourself? I know you're relatively new into the professional workforce.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's good going into positions like with that mindset of like you want to grow with the company. So like knowing how to do that and what to look for and how to position yourself is important.
Yeah, and would you say you can tell a new grad hire versus like an experienced engineer generally?
Oh, yeah. Just from my experience, because I'm a product engineer one, so they kind of knew like they would have to teach me like most of like the structure and how things are done and stuff like that. But like from the testing side, they had a test engineer two that came in, and they just kind of have to learn the system that they use, but they could kind of quicker getting on their feet a lot quicker than like a new grad.
Yeah,
would.
Well, that's true. You can definitely tell when you have a more experienced person versus a new hire engineer. Doesn't necessarily mean it's always a bad thing when you're a new hire engineer. I know a lot of places and people like that hungry, eager mindset that a new engineer brings. So it's important that people keep that moving into their career. That's something that can be lost if you don't stay looking towards the positives and the bright sides. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, how to get promoted as an engineer. Well, Patrick, give your background really quick before we dive into this one, and then I'll give my background quick little run through.
First. I'm just going to go to what I've been working since college. So I graduated last year, was a design engineer for around 8 months, and I just transitioned to a new role as a product engineer.
Nice. That's cool.
I hate when you do yours because I just feel bad.
No, I mean, in college, I had 3 or 4 internships, all related to quality and manufacturing engineering. One with Boeing, one with a semiconductor company, Samsung, and then one with a surface mount technology fabrication company, or manufacturer, not fabrication company, a manufacturer called E-Controls. I also interned with GE Appliances as a product quality engineer. And then moving out of there, I started full-time with Toyota as a quality engineer. And within, I would say, 2 years, I was a senior engineer at where I am currently at Shield AI. Yeah, 2 years, right? Around 2 years?
Yeah. So you definitely have a lot more experience getting promoted.
So, yeah, typically that's not a typical career path you'd see. Typically, senior engineers tend to be a little bit longer in the career journey, at least from what I was seeing when I first got into the workforce. But as for myself in particular, I focused on some key things that I think really helped me kind of navigate those hurdles and those building blocks to eventually catapult myself into the development that I wanted to see, not just in myself but the colleagues around me. But yeah, that being said, I wanted to focus on like 5 key topics for this, or 5 key points for this podcast that I think helped me greatly in my career journey. And this definitely isn't like a do these 5 things. This is all you need to do, but just reviewing and kind of doing a retrospective of my career. These are some things that have helped me a lot, especially moving in fast paced environments like Tesla or Shield AI, where I'm at now. So just quick overview. Number one, understanding cross-functional teams and responsibilities as soon as possible. That is a big hurdle you have as a starting engineer. You come into a company, you don't necessarily know what everyone does, so it kind of hinders your confidence. You don't want to do as much. You're not sure if what you're saying is correlating to what everyone else is seeing. But we'll dive more into that after this. Number two, communicate extremely efficiently and effectively. Effective communication beats. You've heard it so many times. A bullet point paragraph, an elevator pitch will beat out a story long or page long story any day of the week for anyone listening. Same thing goes in your career. People want to know the valuable information as soon as possible. Communicate efficiently and effectively. Number three, when you communicate, talk with data. And that doesn't mean send 5-page long exposés with data that's super hard to interpret. But talk with data. If you're making a point, if you're arguing for a position, use data to talk to it. Don't just use anecdotal evidence, unless you're in a time constraint. We'll get into that moving forward. And then number four, this one's a big one. Become a subject matter expert over your system. So always make sure that whatever you're involved with, you are the go-to guy or girl. Are you blinking?
Do you see my screen?
Yeah. What is that?
That is.
Oh, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Be the subject matter expert of your system. If you, whatever system you're related to, make sure you're the go-to guy or girl for that commodity, and make sure that you're an irreplaceable asset that's seen as the go-to for that. Because the sooner you get to that position, the quicker you're going to progress in your career. And then the last one for me, which is really not necessarily a technical thing, but biasing towards action. You're going to see, especially as an entry-level engineer, there's going to be a lot of situations where you want to do something, but you feel like you can't do it because you don't either have this technical skill set, you don't know who to reach out to, you don't know how the system operates, how the company operates as a whole. And when you reach out to certain individuals, maybe they're a super senior person in your company, well, you might get met with some reservation. I don't want to do this. We shouldn't do that. Let's just leave it till later. Cut that out as early as possible. Bias towards action. If you feel like you need to do something, do it. Don't wait on permission from someone unless it's something that affects a broader team. If it's something you can easily control, bias towards action, get it done, and show why what you're doing was valuable to the overall mission or goal of the company. But those 5 things are what I kind of wanted to steer this podcast on as we move further into the discussion. Patrick, I know you're earlier in your career, so you may not be as in depth on like all this stuff. But if you have any questions on like what to do in these situations, you've seen a situation at work where you're like, oh, maybe how should I approach this problem? Like, feel free to bring it up, and I'll feel free to bullshit my way through it. So,
all right, sounds good.
Yeah. Do those sound like pretty talkable subjects moving forward?
Yeah, I think these are good things to think about, and because I'm going through it right now, starting a new job while I'm learning everything, and it can be like very overwhelming because you're learning all these new systems, who to talk to, how they do things. So it's important to like put these in your mind beforehand, so you just don't forget about them entirely, because it is going to be overwhelming at first. So it's important just to keep at it and remember these things as time goes on and stuff like that. So
yeah, and you made a good point that I kind of want to touch on before we get into these 5 points that I brought up here originally. the overarching goal of your role, right? Like as an engineer, say promotion should not be promotion is nice. Definitely do things that'll set you up in a position to be promoted, but don't make that your overall life goal. Like, don't think of your job as I need to do all this, and this so I can be promoted. Think of it as a what can I do to make myself the most effective engineer as possible, and will what I'm doing lead to something like this in the future potentially? That's how we should really view it moving
Yeah.
forward. And another thing is, as an engineer, when you're talking about things like promotion and things like that, it really evolves around like what the business needs. Does the business, are they in a position to promote you right now? Do they have the intrinsic evidence that you are an exemplary employee? And how do they have that evidence? Is it you've performed day-to-day monotonous tasks that are related to your job function, or have you gone above and beyond and outside of your scope and really affected the organization and company as a whole? So that's how we should be thinking of things, not just like handling day-to-day activities. Well, you can do that too. To each their own. That's not how I roll. And I think it's proven me well so far.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, let's move into it. First topic, Patrick: understanding cross-functional teams and responsibilities as soon as possible. How are you feeling right now with where you are at? Where you are at? Do you feel like you have a good grasp of like how the whole company runs from conception of design to customer?
Getting there. It is a lot because you're learning just so much, just like the systems they use, when what your job functions are, what other people are doing. Getting a better understanding because I'm a product engineer, so you do have to work closely with all the other teams because in the end, what quality is doing, what manufacturing is doing, what design is doing, they're doing it to the product that you own. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to be playing a role in everything that they do and knowing what they're doing. Um, so I am slowly learning what everyone's doing and how they do it. So I am kind of seeing the value in it because I know, like in manufacturing and stuff, like if you're just manufacturing, you can like not care about what design is doing, which is bad because that definitely affects what you're going to be doing as manufacturing. But you have that ability to, if you just want to block it out and just do your daily monotonous jobs, I guess, like you said before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do like my new position, the fact that it is making me learn what every team is doing. But you should always take that, and you should always be doing that no matter what role you're in. But
Yeah, I definitely agree there. There is the like you said it. Every job will give you that opportunity to sit back and coast and let things come to you. But let's be real. Like early in our career, we need to take advantage of the time and the youth and the motivation that we have early on to get those skills on the front end that set us up for success on the back end. So this is definitely the time to really be working on that skill set. But have you run into any situations where it's like, I know me personally, like when I got into the manufacturing world, which is where most of pretty much all of our experience is in, not maybe not you, but my experience is on the manufacturing side of things, both small scale and large scale production volume manufacturing. Like things are moving at such a large scale, right? You think of it in terms of automobiles. $50,000 automobiles rolling off a line every minute. You get intimidated by the scale of that, and it kind of constricts you and constrains you in like the decisions you make. Especially as a young engineer, do you want to make a decision that can affect millions of dollars worth of product in a day?
mm-hmm.
That's a tough thing to kind of juggle early on, and I think really understanding like how you can use these cross-functional teams and leverage what everyone's goals and directives are, and like and I guess all of their individual responsibilities and how they can help you get to where you need to go is a huge value. And it also builds those personal relationships that'll stay there throughout your career. So like as you see colleagues progress or get further along in their career, or maybe they go somewhere else, you'll always know that you work together and like you worked hard to get to
Yeah,
where y'all were. And
and I
um,
think
yeah.
what's kind of helped me too with of having the mindset of like wanting to contribute and having a fresh set of eyes is valuable for a company. Having someone come in and seeing how they do things, it could get them out of the norm if you see something weird that they're doing and stuff like that. So it's kind of motivating me, like, okay, I want to contribute. I want to change how they're doing some things because I know there can be improvements. There can always be improvements. So it's like motivating me to learn the systems faster and the best I can.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
from the get-go, because I want to really learn the ins and outs of them so I can then critique them and make the processes better.
Yep.
So I think that having that mindset also helps in that way. It's going to motivate you to learn the processes in and out and become an expert at them so you can improve them.
Definitely. Yeah, and you're right. It helps you learn all those different processes and eventually gets you to a point where you feel confident no matter where you are. Let's say I'm a quality engineer. Let's say you're a quality engineer. You work long enough and hard enough and really drive with those cross-functional teams, you'll feel comfortable going into any single one of those teams on the manufacturing side. Yeah, so it really sets you up for success in that aspect. But let's stay on the quality engineering example, right? Like moving on to point 2. Let's say you get to a point where you're confident with your cross-functional teams. You know each team's role and responsibilities. You have a deadline you need to meet, an objective you need to tackle. You know which people to pull in, right? In the case of a quality engineer, that objective may be a defect or an issue that happens on the line, right? You have limited information most of the time. Let's say you have a car and you press the gas pedal, or you press the gas pedal or the acceleration pedal if it's an electric car, and the wheels aren't turning. You're not getting any output. Like in that situation, you're a new engineer, you're a new quality engineer. Like, how would you get your cross-functional teams to work with you on solving like that issue? Any ideas, Patrick?
I'll let you take it.
You let me take it. Well, I have all these. You know what? Come on, man. Just give it a shot. Give it a shot. So don't think about it. It's easy to get overwhelmed with that question. Yeah, let's say you got it. You press it on your let's say brake pedal and your brakes aren't engaging. No brakes. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the first thing you would think in that situation? You're the only engineer there on the floor. They came out. They sought you out. You're there.
What would I think?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, they put it together wrong.
Oh no, what they built do not work. Do this one work? Do that one work?
Well, I guess my first initial thought would be like, I don't know how widespread that problem is.
Yeah.
How to contain it.
Hey, that's a good quality mindset. It's like you worked in quality before. Have you?
No.
No. Well, that's a good critical thinking mindset. Contain it. It's suspect population. All right, but let's say you got past this point, right? You got to the point where you find out there's a connector that people aren't connecting properly to the accelerator pedal, so no signal is getting sent to your vehicle controllers to request a CAN signal to go to your drive units to send power to your drive units, right? So connector's not engaged. You find out that's like a processor-related issue. Big thing here is you know what to do. You know where to go. How efficiently and effectively can you communicate that to where it's done as fast as possible? This is a big one that I see new engineers struggling with. Even experienced engineers I see struggling with this a lot. You have a problem statement, and then they get lost in the weeds of explaining how an entire system works and how this got from here to here, and it's like, calm down, brother. Take it simple. Take it smooth. What are you actually trying to get out of this situation? You have a process-related issue that failed, right? You just need to ensure that you have a control in place that'll either detect a loose connection or a pokey yoke that'll make sure it'll never happen again. So what do you need to do? You need to bring in your process engineer. You need to bring in your quality engineer. You need to bring in your production supervisor. You need to bring in your production lead, maybe as a trainer. Don't overwhelm the group. Don't overwhelm chats with too many stakeholders, because information is going to get diluted. We're going to have too many hands in the cookie jar. People are going to start saying things that are irrelevant. Just not only for this quality issue, but any issue you have out there or any goal you have out there. Keep your team small keep them to the point where you have the people you need to get what you need done, and don't fluff what you're saying. Just problem statement, action needed, consequence of what happened, or risk, and really that's kind of it. If you need like specific things like what part numbers affected or revs, or you can put that in there. But yeah, keep it short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, because I'm starting to get into with a new job, learning all the different systems, subassemblies, revisions, and all that type of stuff. So like walking through, like if you find an issue with this, you got to contain all of these things because it affects all these different things. And,
Yep.
It is a lot to learn, but yeah.
And what sort of communication platform do y'all use there? Do y'all use like Slack, Teams?
Yeah, we're on Google, so I use Google, everything Google Chat, Gmail, all that stuff. And then we use a task manager system like called like Asana. Have you heard that?
Asana, yeah.
Yeah, we use that to assign tasks to different people and make sure people are doing their roles and specific functions and stuff like that.
Dang, they have time to assign tasks to people. That's pretty good. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, it's not like, I don't think it's, I mean, obviously I don't know everything yet, but it's not like super high volume manufacturing.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, my manufacturing isn't very high volume right now either. Trying to launch a new product. But yeah, usually for new engineers, like where was I at? When I first started, like I gave that example, right? And communicating efficiently and effectively, and I said like who to bring in, but I didn't say how to bring them in. Like how do you bring them in? It's as simple as a Teams message, right? I'm not sure about the Google Suite, but we use Microsoft Teams. Teams allows you to pull in individuals into a group message, just like a group message on your phone, and like name your chat, and that's essentially like how we communicate, super fast and on the fly. Pull in all the stakeholders, name the chat what the issue is. Let's say we have to deal with a containment on the line, right? Pull in all the relevant stakeholders, name of chat, missing bolt containment, part number, right? Now we know what the chat is for. You can pin it on the side. If you ever have to find it in the future, you can search it on your findable whatever query on Microsoft Teams, and then all those stakeholders will already be there, ready for you to reference in the future. If you ever have a similar issue, you can reference how you handled something in the past and just pull it back up.
This is like a random question, and not really random, but for you, let's say like, okay, that connector or whatever, you have to put like a check to make sure like that doesn't happen again, right? You have to do like a process change. What group or team, I guess, would be in charge of like doing the risk analysis for that? Make sure, okay, that process change isn't affecting other things or isn't.
All right, risk analysis. So when you say risk analysis, do you mean like a risk analysis for your product, your system, or the manufacturing process?
In that case, it would be the manufacturing process, right?
Yeah. So manufacturing process, typically, if it's a change that big, that'd be a pretty drastic process change. So it'd either be a change to like some sort of automated tooling, or some sort of installation sequence maybe. Things could get out of sequence there. So from there, you'd have to do some sort of like PCA, which would be like a process change validation, sort of process change approval is what it stands for. And that will involve like the process engineer and the quality engineer mainly is like the two main stakeholders in figuring out if a process change affects units further down the line.
Okay.
Yeah, but typically, let's say it wasn't that specific, right? Like typically the engineering stakeholder who's driving the change would perform that analysis. At least ideally, that's how it'd be. You got to be careful when you get into more standardized companies where teams driving changes aren't the ones seeing the change through. That's why I really liked it when I was at Tesla and where I am currently, because you say we need a change, you're the one leading it. It's pretty nice. And it means that the most involved stakeholder is seeing issues through to the end. And they're not just passing the football or hot potato between teams.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Point 3. I think this one's going to be a pretty short point to go over. Like you were saying, risk analysis, things like that, using data, talking with data, using data to drive decision making. And especially as firepower, when you're in a disagreement or a shift in opinions between, or a divide in opinions between someone, and you're trying to get like something done in a fast manner. Talking with data is a really good way to bolster your position and show that you have the or evidence-based information that'll lead you to like a successful initiative. This is something I learned very quickly on. I remember when I was a newer engineer at Tesla, communication is pretty informal there. A low-level engineer can talk directly with a high-level executive manager, right? And one of the best pieces of advice my manager gave me while I was there was one time I sent an email response to one of my high-level executive managers. They were inquiring about a failure mode that was occurring at a higher trend than normal, right? And I had deep experience with this already. I was already actively working it. I drafted a response on email, and I sent it back saying like, "Oh, this is why, and this is why, and this is what it's leading to." Blah blah blah. And within 20 seconds, I hear footsteps behind me, and my manager, he was known for being a stomper, or a quick stomper. And I feel a hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "Christian, redact your email right now." And I was like, "Huh? What? Why?" And he's like, "Yeah, redact your email." And he had me redact it, and he said, "You just answered a high-level manager with a statement of absolute truth that had no data behind it. So you were saying your word was law with confidence in an email that was distributed to a bunch of cross-functional teams and stakeholders across the entire company. But I didn't give any data to back up what I was saying. And I wasn't wrong in this situation. It wasn't like I was wrong, but it's just it's just putting yourself in a position that you can't be like questioned. Say you're not a subject matter expert. People aren't familiar with you in your job. How can you get these cross-functional teams to trust you in this situation? Especially if you're talking to a very high-level person. You speak with that data, and people know your people. Know, yeah. That one stayed with me.
Yeah. No. Data and all that stuff is really important. I'm starting to see that already in my new role, just because we do manufacture like compressor systems, and we have a QC lab that very, very, very accurately tests a bunch of different measurements. And if it forgets one, or the part wasn't GD&T'd right to specify to measure something and it's causing issues, they're not going to know it because we have no data, qualitative data on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like that one's going to be even bigger on your side of the house for product. Oh, going to see a lot of testing related to your systems. That'll be fun. All right, moving on to the next one.
Subject matter expert.
Another big one. Become a subject matter expert as soon as possible, if you're able to. It's going to be tough. Being a subject matter expert is no easy feat, and sometimes it takes years to get to that level. But yeah, being the go-to resource for the product that you're involved with will always solidify you as like a must-have resource for the company. And when you're a must-have resource, that directly translates into those promotional related activities. So the more subject matter expertise you have, the better you'll be lined up for those positions.
Oh, show.
Yeah. Do you know what system you're over with Air Squared right now?
No, I mean, they make a bunch of different compressor models, and to kind of ease me in, there's 3 product engineers. The other 2 are gonna keep running the high demand, high output systems, and I'm gonna start integrating and owning the legacy products, which is we don't make a lot of them. We make them sparsely here and there based on because the customers want them. So it's gonna be a lot easier for me to own those products and get used to them before we have to actually start manufacturing them again. But yeah, it's a cool opportunity just because I am going to own products, and eventually you have to be the subject matter expert because no one else is going to know them as good as you. They're not going to have seen all the drawings, all the dimensioning on them like you have, how they're all put together. So I feel like product engineering is, from what I can tell, very early on is pretty cool just because it is thrusting you to be a subject matter expert. You have to be because you're going to be owning your products and things like that.
Yeah, no, that'll definitely be fun. Another quick or good thing to remember when becoming a subject matter expert, don't turn into a freaking asshole. Just because you know the most in that area doesn't mean you can automatically turn into the king of the castle, have a king of the castle mindset. Still operate with humbleness and grace, as Hannah would put it.
No, yeah, definitely. I've definitely already seen a little bit of that in some instances.
That is
and
my biggest
with my
pet
own
peeve.
job too. It's like you do have to keep like an open mindset and like be like nice to people, because I feel like a lot of people see it as like, oh, I know more than you, so like I'm like better or something. It's like, no, you just work with that system or product every day.
Yeah.
Like other people might not have the luxury of seeing the same things every single day.
Yep.
So just being open to sharing your knowledge and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely a big one. Man, the amount of there's a lot of big heads in engineering. Alrighty. Moving forward, last one. Patrick, you want to take this one? You want to lead this one?
Am I out of focus?
Yeah, you are out of focus.
There you go. Okay, what's the last one? Importance of taking initiative, bias toward action.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, in my experience, I think being like a new grad and like starting a new job, it's like easy to try to like, oh, I'm not important yet. I'm gonna sit back, or if I give a task, I can sit back and let someone else handle it. Or not being confident in what you're doing is right, or knowing where to go for the resources to do it. So having that kind of attitude toward always, you need to take action on everything that you possibly can. And if you can't, you need to actively be trying to and finding the resources that can give you the knowledge to do that action. Because I've already found myself sometimes like being like having an issue with asking for getting assigned a task or something. And I'm like, there's no way they can actually expect me to do this, right? Like I can just sit on it, or like they don't expect it. But like having that mindset definitely helps and will help you learn a lot faster than someone who just is okay with sitting back and not doing it, or not taking their own initiative to go find someone that knows.
Agreed. Yeah, that I couldn't have said it better myself. That was a great take, Patrick. So yeah, recapping these points, like I highly recommend. It's not necessary. You don't have to do all these strategies and tips that we outlined here in this podcast, but I highly recommend you implementing these sorts of forward thinking and methodologies, forward thinking mindsets and methodologies, as you kind of form a strategic approach to your career growth. So yeah, that's kind of all I had to say. Patrick, anything else you wanted to touch on before we close out?
Nope. I think it's just kind of having these in the back of your mind. Like you don't have to put them at the forefront, especially starting out as like a brand new engineer.
Yeah.
Like it's important to like learn the systems, learn all that, but having these just in the back of your mind and knowing them beforehand kind of helps you like in those moments of when you're being lazy or when you're not doing something you probably should be. Just having this knowledge of this is like, oh, let me actually take action and do this right now, because I know it'll help me in the future.
Agreed. Yeah, and I know it's nice to focus on that present or that goal, that next promotion, but focus on making yourself a better engineer, and the promotions will come naturally.
Money.
That is it for this podcast. Hope you all enjoyed. You can follow us on Undefined Engineering on LinkedIn. We also have a TikTok on at Undefined Engineering on TikTok. Thank thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see y'all next week.